At this time, we're back. Eric DeSobe here, excited to be joined by a fellow teacher. Steph is with us. Steph, what did you teach when you were a teacher back in the day?
Was a fifth grade math and science teacher.
Oh, I would love to hire you right now. Math and science are always hard to find. How long did you teach in the classroom?
About 4.5 years.
And at some point, I know I had the same experience after about 5 years. I was thinking, okay, what do I want to do if classroom teaching is not where I necessarily see myself for 15, 20 years? You had that moment in time. What was that like when you were trying to figure out what to do next?
Gosh, there are waves of questions, as you well know, Eric. Someone in the TFA system, in the greater educational system, you realize, I'm something else is calling me. I don't know what that something else is, but I'm being pulled to something else with the same draw as when I was pulled into education in the first place, into classroom teaching in the first place. So it's a little bit scary in that beginning phase when you're starting to realize, oh boy, there's work to do. There's somewhere else I need to be. So what was it like is your question? Both
Yeah.
scary and exciting. I also knew that I had a 5-year plan. I was not going to teach for longer than 5 years. That's a whole conversation I can have with you. I was going to be the Secretary of Education someday and didn't believe that I should get there without real lived classroom experience. I clearly did not go the political route, but back then it was scary, it was exciting. There were no resources for educators looking to continue supporting the system outside of the traditional classroom. So it was a lot of trial and error back then.
Yeah. We'll kind of fast forward to now. So you're in a position where you are coaching and supporting teachers who are in that pivotal moment of deciding what to do next. Kind of walk me through how it came to be where you're in this space of giving people advice and coaching people through trying to get jobs after teaching.
Yeah, definitely. Great question. And thanks for asking that. Most people say, "Hey, how do I do this?" rather than tell me about what led you there. So this is a fun topic to talk about. So after I led the classroom, I decided again I was going to have another plan. I wasn't going to go the political route, but I knew I needed to be an entrepreneur. I knew I needed to be at tables where decisions were made. But again, I knew I wouldn't get there without lived experience of the corporate side of education or the corporate world, period, and how things function. I wanted to know how things function similarly as in education, because as you know, schools are businesses in their own right, but there are principles and fundamentals that are very different than the corporate world. So I decided to go into the corporate world for 10 years, just about, right? And I worked through, I said yes to everything. That was my plan. I wanted to do everything. I wanted to be everywhere. I know if I went back and did it differently, there are ways I would have protected my time and my space a little bit better, but I don't have any regrets at all. So I said yes to learning and development, said yes to curriculum development, said yes to user design, user experience, yes to onboarding, yes to training, yes to professional development and content creation, cross-functional work with sales and marketing. And I mean, so many yeses. And through every single one of those steps, I in some capacity was in front of educators, whether directly in front of educators, educator adjacent, developing things for educators, training the people that would go out and train teachers through various means on SaaS products, edtech tools, etc. And literally, Eric, the reason why I created Elevated Careers was because literally every time I was in any environment with an educator, I had people waiting for me, lined up waiting for me to whisper in my ear, how do I do what you do? How do I get out of this? How do I kind of get out of this so that I'm not in this position, but I'm still doing things that are supporting students or supporting other educators or supporting the development of whatever the future of education looks like? And I started creating resources. I started building bridges. I started connecting people and realized that the things that I was creating, I started recycling so much and updating in some like customized way for all the people who wanted to come and chat about what's next. I thought, this is it. This is the intersection of me becoming an entrepreneur, me, meeting educators where they need to be. And also, as you and I both know, the truly evolving state of education. Education is not going to be shaped within classrooms anymore. They're going to be shaped in corporate. They're going to be shaped by policymakers. And this is probably the TFA and me speaking. The people who leave the classroom are the ones who are going to run the show. And it's up to us to define what that show looks like. And I saw this coming years ago. So I finally had a courageous moment where I said, okay, I have enough data. I have enough data. I know what the hiring market looks like. I know how to research labor market trends, and I am a professional development specialist by trade and by practice. So I'm going to put all these things together and go where the bat signal has gone up. And the bat signal went up where there were so many educators finally saying, hey, we need this help. And it became a full-time job for me. So I made it my full-time job. So here I
Yeah.
am.
My job is to try to keep everyone in the classroom, but I've certainly supported some folks who want to transition out. And I think one of the challenges I've seen them face, especially if they're going slightly out of education or completely out of education, is explaining why the skills of classroom teaching are very transferable. And it can be hard to convince folks who maybe don't know anything about education or just assume a kind of limited scope of what it means to be a teacher. How do you coach folks to frame their teaching experience in a way that would be appealing to hiring managers in different roles that aren't in schools? How do you get them to set up in a successful way all the critical thinking skills and analytical skills and management skills that you get because you're a classroom teacher?
I think that is one of the most relevant and common questions that anybody in this space gets. And the simplest answer is you have to look at the job description and have your resume, literally every bullet, every experience, be an answer to something that they're looking for on that job description. The way, and of course, what I do then through my programs and through any of the free or paid resources that I offer really is walking educators through the process of peeling back every layer of what could seem like an innocuous, everyday or mundane activity that they took for granted in education, and helping them realize if we peel back the layers and keep asking yourself, well, what then? Well, why did you do that? What was the purpose? What adults did you work with? How did you lead? What data did you gather? Educators, when they go through that thought process, is a very tactical process. It's not an emotion based, it's an action based process, a tactical process where they then literally write down every part of what seemed like an everyday task. And they started realizing I did lead other educators in an unofficial capacity. I did work cross functionally with these other departments. And we uncover essentially what parts of the experiences that they've been talking about and referring to themselves as classroom teachers and leaders of students. We reframe it. We figure out what parts of those experiences have they not been talking about. That is the real language that corporate entities are looking for. And so it's not, nobody has to go back and get another degree. You don't have to get millions of certifications. It's a matter of looking at your experiences from a different angle, and it's a lot easier than you think. You just need a tactical, like I said, a tried and true activity, a thought activity to walk you through it.
What are your expertise eyes telling you about the ed sector right now in terms of which aspects of it are kind of on the rise or which ones might be fading away? I think about AI probably is something you're keeping an eye on. Is ed tech shrinking or growing? What would you want people to know about what you're seeing in the market itself?
Yeah, another great question. So the trends I'm seeing, so there are a few things that you said earlier about, coaching people through this process. And there's one asterisk, one good, happy asterisk that I want to add to that is, the term career coach is kind of a cottage industry term. And yes, there are elements of coaching that I provide. All of what I quote unquote coach people on, it's really more labor market strategy and current practices in self-branding, in specifically how to reframe experiences. To say that I do career coaching, it's one aspect of a much bigger futurist picture of what I provide. And so part of that coaching that I share is, as I mentioned earlier, the labor market trends. And what I'm seeing within ed tech and what I share with people is sometimes it's not always your passion that's going to get you to your next place. It's also what the labor market is demanding and what they need. So many educators who want to switch into the corporate world, they can do a lot. There are many jobs that they're qualified for, and we're not meant to do just one or two things in this life. So I advise people to let the market kind of guide them a little bit more. And so specifically within ed tech, it's very much driven by federal funding. And there, again, are layers to this business, the big business that is ed tech. And what we saw post-COVID were lots of recovery funds, lots and lots of federally provided recovery funds that, billions of dollars handed to education. And then what districts did, and correct me if I'm wrong here. Let me know if Kip saw some of these waves of funding and support, but also choices in ed tech. There were so many companies that popped up and said, we can help with learning loss. We can help you recover from COVID learning loss and the seismic ripples that has created over the past few years. And so all of that money, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, were thrown to ed tech companies to help fill these gaps. We saw gamification, personalized learning pathways. We saw individual learning pathways. We saw, and with the rise of AI, everybody's jumping on the AI bandwagon, rightfully so. When used well and ethically, and vetted properly, it can be an incredible tool. So with all of those funds, we saw a boom in ed tech, tons of hiring. People could have their pick of the litter, right? And I'm sure that was a scary time for you as someone in recruiting
Yeah, I
and
can
trying to
feel
keep, right? It was a very, very lucrative market, and one that was really just burning up for great talent. Today, what we've seen is, as those funds have started to diminish and really started to run out, we're seeing less money going to ed tech companies, which means less dollars going in, less money for research and development, and more of a push for making do with what they have and selling existing products. And so what I have seen are trends in hiring more for sales, business development, marketing,
interesting.
communications heavy roles, things that are going to generate, essentially make up for those dollars that they're not getting from federal funding anymore via, of course, districts. So we're seeing a lot of the quote unquote scary jobs that teachers don't realize they're very qualified for, but they're very qualified for because they sell every single day. And we're starting to see a bit of a drop off in the curriculum development and the tool building side of things, but those are all cyclical. They come and go in waves. But right now, if you can speak to people and convince them that they need a specific product or service, that's where you're going to find the most traction.
Last thing, if there's teachers listening to this, if there's KIP teachers, stay in the classroom. But if there's other teachers who are intrigued by what you're talking about, how can they find you? How could they seek you out?
Sure. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm sure you'll put my URL in the description. I also have a website I'm pretty partial to, www.elevated.careers. That's my vanity URL. I'm on Instagram, Pinterest. I'm all over the place. But my two primary ones where I hang out the most are going to be LinkedIn and my actual website, blog, newsletter, all the good stuff.
Love it. Sounds good. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Steph, thanks for coming on. You can catch all the episodes of the past in the places you find your podcast, and we'll put all the good info in the info description on this one. Don't forget, you can find us in Stunning 4K on YouTube. And until next time, catch you soon.